The Seven Generations Philosophy, Honoring the Past and Future. This profound worldview from the First Nations of North America holds crucial lessons for all of us as we navigate the challenges of modern life. The Seven Generations Philosophy is a deep-rooted belief that our actions today have consequences that reverberate for 7 generations before us and 7 generations to come. It encourages us to consider the profound, long-term impact of our choices, not just on ourselves, but on our ancestors and descendants. The idea is that we have a sacred responsibility to those who came before and those who will follow. We must live in a way that upholds the values and traditions of our heritage, while also ensuring a thriving future for our children, grandchildren, and beyond. Sadly, many of these invaluable traditions have been lost or forgotten in our modern world. Things like traditional ecological knowledge, ancestral plant medicine, and communal rituals that fostered deep connection and resilience. As these time-tested practices fall away, we lose vital pieces of our collective wisdom and heritage. This disconnection has real consequences, as we see in the social, environmental, and health crises we face today. In our fast-paced consumerist society, we've often lost touch with this holistic, multi-generational perspective. We're increasingly plagued by dis-ease, not just physical illness, but mental, emotional, and spiritual dis-ease as well. Things like rising rates of addiction, depression, anxiety, and chronic stress point to a deeper disconnect. We've become disconnected from the land, from our traditions, from a sense of meaning and purpose. This disconnect has severe consequences, not just for us, but for the 7 generations that will follow. So how can we, as modern individuals, start to reconnect with the wisdom of the 7 generations philosophy and create a healthier future? Here are 3 key things we can do. Rediscover traditional ecological knowledge. Many indigenous cultures possess deep, time-tested understandings of how to live in harmony with the natural world. By relearning traditional ecological knowledge, things like sustainable land management, plant medicine, and seasonal cycles, we can start to rebuild that vital connection to the earth. One great example of a modern culture reviving traditional ecological knowledge is the Maori people of New Zealand. After decades of colonization and loss of traditional practices, the Maori have made concerted efforts in recent years to reinvigorate their connection to the land and reclaim their ancestral knowledge. One key initiative has been the restoration of traditional mahinga kai, food gathering and cultivation sites. This has involved things like mapping and cataloguing historic mahinga kai locations that had fallen into disuse. This required extensive community engagement to recover oral histories and locate sites that had been forgotten over time. Rehabilitating degraded ecosystems through practices like native plant revegetation, wetland restoration, and the reintroduction of traditional resource management techniques. This has helped revive the productivity and biodiversity of these sites. Passing down ancestral knowledge about sustainable harvesting, crop rotation, and seasonal resource cycles to younger generations through hands-on learning and mentorship programs. Of course, this process has faced significant obstacles. Decades of industrialized agriculture, urban development, and environmental pollution had severely damaged many mahinga kai sites. There were also legal and bureaucratic hurdles, as colonial land ownership and resource management systems conflicted with traditional Maori practices. However, the Maori people have persevered through these challenges. By forming partnerships with government agencies, environmental organizations, and academic institutions, they have been able to secure funding, technical expertise, and policy changes to support their revitalization efforts. Crucially, the Maori have also invested heavily in cultural education and language preservation. This has ensured that the deep spiritual and practical knowledge underpinning traditional ecological practices is not lost, but can be meaningfully transferred to future generations. Today, many Maori communities have successfully re-established thriving Mahinga Kai sites that not only provide sustainable food sources, but also serve as hubs for cultural transmission, community resilience, and environmental stewardship. This has had a profoundly positive impact, helping to address health disparities, strengthen food sovereignty, and foster a deeper connection to the land. The Maori example demonstrates that with dedication, creativity, and a willingness to bridge traditional wisdom with modern tools and partnerships, it's possible to revive lost ecological knowledge in the face of significant obstacles. It's an inspiring model for other indigenous and local communities around the world who seek to reclaim their ancestral relationship with the natural world. Reclaim ancestral foodways. Our ancestors thrived on whole, locally sourced foods that nourished both body and spirit. By rediscovering and reviving traditional foodways, such as hunting, gathering, and cultivating heirloom crops, we can provide healthier sustenance for ourselves and future generations. One excellent example of a modern society reviving traditional foodways is the Navajo Nation in the southwestern United States. After decades of reliance on processed commodity foods, the Navajo people have made concerted efforts to reclaim their ancestral agricultural practices and food traditions. Some of the key steps they've taken include launching numerous community gardening projects to reintroduce traditional crop cultivation. This has involved things like distributing heirloom seeds for crops like blue corn, tepary beans, and squash, and providing hands-on training in regenerative farming techniques. The Navajo are also working to restore their historic relationship with livestock, such as sheep, goats, and cattle. This has meant relearning traditional herding practices, improving access to grazing land, and teaching butchery and food preservation skills. To create sustainable markets for their revived traditional foods, the Navajo have developed various food-based businesses and cooperatives. This includes things like Navajo-owned farms, mills, and food processing facilities. This effort has faced significant challenges as well. Decades of reliance on the commodity food system, combined with the impacts of colonization, industrialization, and environmental degradation, had severely disrupted Navajo foodways. Many traditional food sources and cultivation techniques were on the brink of being lost entirely. Additionally, the Navajo Nation covers a vast geographically dispersed territory, which presented logistical challenges in terms of coordinating community-wide efforts and sharing knowledge. However, the Navajo people have persevered through these challenges. By tapping into their cultural pride and drawing on the wisdom of elders, they have been able to reignite a deep sense of connection to their ancestral foods and farming practices. Critically, the Navajo have also forged important partnerships with academic institutions, non-profit organizations, and government agencies. This has allowed them to access technical support, funding, and policy changes to support their food sovereignty initiatives. Today, the Navajo Nation boasts a vibrant network of community gardens, family farms, and tribally owned food enterprises that are reviving traditional crops, raising heritage livestock, and re-establishing food distribution channels. This has had a profound impact, improving nutrition and health outcomes, strengthening community resilience, and fostering cultural continuity. The Navajo example demonstrates that with determination, community-led initiative, and strategic partnerships, it is possible to revive lost traditional foodways, even in the face of significant disruption. It's an inspiring model for other indigenous and rural communities seeking to reclaim their food systems and culinary heritage. Restore communal rituals. Many indigenous cultures placed great emphasis on communal rituals and celebrations that fostered deep connection, resilience, and a sense of shared purpose. By reclaiming practices like community feasts, seasonal ceremonies, and shared work parties, we can rebuild the social fabric that has eroded in modern society. One excellent example of a modern culture restoring communal rituals and reclaiming ancestral practices is the 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬𝙁 First Nation in British Columbia, Canada. After facing decades of cultural suppression and disruption due to colonization, the 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 people have made concerted efforts in recent years to revive their tradition of community-based seasonal celebrations and shared work parties. Some of the key steps they have taken include reinstituting the 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 potlatch tradition. The potlatch is a sacred communal feast and ceremony that has been central to 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 culture for centuries. After it was banned by the Canadian government for many years, the 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 have fought to fully reinstate this vital practice. This has involved things like repatriating sacred potlatch regalia, reviving potlatch protocols and songs, and hosting large-scale community potlatches. The 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 also have a deep tradition of marking seasonal transitions and honoring natural cycles through structured rituals and ceremonies. They have worked to revive practices like the first salmon ceremony, the first berry ceremony, and various solstice and equinox celebrations. This has strengthened their connection to the land and their sense of cultural identity. Historically, the 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 would come together in large groups to collectively complete important tasks, such as building communal structures, harvesting resources, or undertaking land management projects. The 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 have re-established these shared work parties, which serve to strengthen social bonds, pass down skills, and foster a spirit of reciprocity and mutual aid. This effort is also not without its difficulties. The legacy of residential schools, the banning of potlatches, and other colonial policies had profoundly disrupted 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 cultural practices and community structures. Many of the elders who held the knowledge of these rituals had passed away, leaving gaps that had to be painstakingly filled. The 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 territory is also vast and geographically dispersed, making it logistically difficult to coordinate large-scale community events and ensure broad participation. However, the 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 people have persisted through these obstacles. By tapping into the passion and determination of younger generations, they have been able to rediscover and revitalize their ancestral traditions. Critically, the 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 have also forged important partnerships with universities, museums, and indigenous rights organizations. This has allowed them to access funding, archival materials, and legal support to bolster their cultural revitalization efforts. Today, the 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 nation boasts a vibrant calendar of seasonal ceremonies, potlatches, and community work parties that are deeply reconnecting their people to their cultural heritage and the natural world. These practices have had a profound impact, strengthening social cohesion, intergenerational knowledge transfer, and overall community well-being. The 𝙍𝙬𝙙𝙬 example demonstrates that with unwavering commitment, strategic collaboration, and a deep reverence for ancestral wisdom, it is possible to restore communal rituals and reclaim lost traditions, even in the face of severe disruption. It's an inspiring model for other indigenous communities seeking to revitalize their cultural identities and practices. By incorporating these approaches into our lives, we honor the wisdom of our ancestors while also ensuring a thriving future for our descendants. When we live with this long-term, interconnected mindset, we make choices that nourish the earth, strengthen our communities, and pass down cherished traditions. We become stewards of a legacy that transcends our own lifetimes. By rediscovering and embodying the 7 generations philosophy, we have the power to heal ourselves, our communities, and our planet. When we live with reverence for the past and responsibility for the future, we become guardians of a profound legacy. Let us each commit to cultivating lives of virtue, to honoring our ancestors, and ensuring a thriving future for our descendants. This is our sacred duty and the path to true, lasting well-being for all. We hope it has inspired you to consider the far-reaching impact of your choices and to live with intention, compassion, and a deep respect for the web of life. Comment below if you are living by the 7 generations philosophy and share one of the ways you are doing so to help inspire others to do the same. Please also consider subscribing to the channel and sharing this video if you found it valuable, so we can continue to bring more of this message to the world in future videos. Thank you for watching.